Hi, this is Kelly, and you're watching That Smells Divine. If you've been hearing all the hype about Amouage guidance, and you either love it or you hate it, but you're also wondering about the rest of the line, then this video is for you. This video has been a very long time coming, you guys. I have wanted to film this since Scent Explorer, which was like, what, last October, November? And now finally getting around to it. And actually, I think it's perfect timing because guidance is like all over the internet right now. I feel like it could potentially be, you know, the next Delina as far as like hype goes. And personally, guidance isn't my favorite from the line. So I really want to shed some light on the 3 other fragrances that are in this launch. And I also want to talk a little bit more in depth about what I learned at Scent Explorer as I got to actually go through this discovery kit and sniff these fragrances alongside of the perfumers describing, you know, their process in creating each individual fragrance and just diving more into the notes of each fragrance. So I'm super excited for this video, you guys, like really excited. Before we get started, if you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Please comment down below, say hey, let me know where you're dialing in from, and welcome to the family. Okay, so I took some extensive notes. So for this video, I'm gonna be looking down, I'm gonna be reading off my notes quite a bit. I really wanna give you guys as much information about these fragrances as possible. Now, a little bit of a disclaimer, I don't really have any experience with the House of Amouage. This is really my first exploration into the house. I do have a sample of material that I've been slowly working through, and I also did smell another Amouage fragrance at one point. I can't remember which one it was, but it was, gosh, like 10 years ago plus that I worked at this restaurant in Massachusetts, and my coworker smelled really good one day, and I remember being like, what do you have on? And she told me it was from Amouage. I can't remember which one it was. I feel like it might have been Honor, maybe. I'm not sure. This was a really long time ago. And that was my first time hearing the house, and I do remember going home and like, you know, researching the house and everything. So this has really been my first actual exploration of the house. I feel very grateful that I purchased a virtual Scent Explorer ticket. I was trying to get to New York for the event, and I had another trip. There was something else going on as well. Oh yeah, we went to Panama. I don't know, there was something happening at the same time, like similar. There was something else going on travel-wise that month that justified me staying home. And so I got a virtual ticket, which means I got a bag of samples. Some of you guys may have seen my samples video that I posted around the time of Scent Explorer. A lot of you in the comments let me know that you actually attended Scent Explorer in person and did not receive a bag of samples, which I was like super surprised by. So I'm really thrilled that I got to receive this and I had it in time for the Scent Explorer event. And so what I did was I attended the Amouage masterclass. And it was really cool because the perfumers that created, there's 2 perfumers, I believe, I can't remember their names, but there were 2 perfumers that created this line, and they each spoke through the fragrances individually while we sniffed them. And it was literally the best way to experience a fragrance. Like I want to do this more often. I don't know how. I guess just attending expos and events and things, but intentionally sniffing the fragrances with the perfumer as he describes not only he or she describes their creative process, but also like the individual notes and why they chose those and the meaning behind everything was such an incredible experience. So I hope to relay some of that to you today. And if you have this kit and you weren't at the Amouage masterclass, I invite you to pause this video, grab your kit, and sniff along with me. Also, I'm really sorry for the barking in the background. I put Stuart in his crate with a bone. I thought that would be enough. Okay, so the very first thing that I learned about this particular launch, this release, is that this series is called the Escape series. It was created at the beginning of 2020. I did not take notes on this, but I remember one of the perfumers referencing just sort of this like stir craziness around, you know, us all being in lockdown and just the craziness of 2020 and 2021 and like what that kind of stirred up in us, right? So this series is a part of a greater collection called the Odyssey Collection. And the Odyssey Collection is a story of life stages. So the Odyssey collection began with the Renaissance series, which is the story of rebirth. I don't know which fragrances are in each each series. I'm sure you guys probably know some of them. The second series was called Liberation, and that was the one that included Material, which is the one that I've smelled, and then also Boundless, which I know is a popular one as well. And then this is the third series in the collection, and like I said, it's called Escape. And the whole kind of central sort of point of this series is exploring frankincense and the various facets of frankincense. So each of these fragrances is actually designed to kind of go in order, so it tells a story, right? So the very first fragrance is Lineage, because Escape starts with breaking away from your lineage. And just before we get into this fragrance, I love this whole concept. I'm really into Liberation and Escape, obviously, but for me, as he was talking about this and as we were talking about the entire series, what I was getting from this Escape series is it's like escaping the confines of, you know, your identity or societal expectations or societal norms that maybe you've allowed to keep you in a box, you know, whatever. Like I totally approached this from this thinking of like escape as a really positive thing, not like escaping from some danger or monster or anything like that, but just escaping from the things that no longer serve you. So that is kind of where I went into this with my head. And so it was really funny that the very first fragrance was called Lineage, because for me, like, I used to be a mindset coach. I've been coaching and working with people in the personal development world for about over 10 years at this point. And one of the main things that we talk about when we're talking about, you know, creating new patterns and programs in our lives and really stepping into a higher aspect of ourselves is breaking up with the lineage, breaking up with the ancestral patterns. Like, obviously we don't want to break up with our lineage, but really starting to shift out of patterns and programs that no longer serve us and starting to create new patterns and programs for future generations. So I was very excited about Lineage. I don't have the notes in front of me for these fragrances. I'll put them up on the screen, but I'm just going to share with you the notes that I took down, which are minimal notes that I took down while I was sniffing during the masterclass. But yeah, let's start with Lineage. So look how beautiful this presentation is. Like, yeah, this is all felt. It's gorgeous. One of the things I've learned about Amouage is that they're severely polarizing fragrances. They are like the definition of niche. And what I mean by that is the artistry is absolutely incredible, you guys. Like, if you want to really nerd out on the artistry of perfumery and the complexity that can happen and the creativity that can be birthed from like putting different notes together and creating fragrance, like this would be the house to explore. With that being said, it's Amouage to me reminds me of like clothes that you might see on the runway. Like, they're not necessarily things like sometimes I see things on the runway where I'm like, when would I ever wear that? Like, when I'd have to be performing in Cirque du Soleil to wear something like that. I feel like sometimes Amouage fragrances, from the very, very select few that I've smelled, but also from what I've heard, is that it's also kind of similar where it's such a piece of art that sometimes they're almost not wearable, depending on your personality, right? Or they can only really be worn in like very specific situations. So just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, so with Lineage, we're focusing on the mineral aspect of frankincense, which if you're familiar with the note of frankincense, if you've smelled like straight frankincense resin, you'll know what we're talking about here with this like kind of mineral aspect. It has almost like a slaty aspect. It kind of reminds me, so I'm a little bit of a wine connoisseur in addition to being a perfume connoisseur, and one of the things that I love about wines that have been wines whose grapes have been grown in limestone, for example. Like, oftentimes they'll mix limestone in with the soil, and it gives the wine a very, very particular, almost like slaty kind of mineral taste. Almost like kind of a stony, chalky taste, sort of. Very subtle, but you can definitely pick up on it if you're familiar with wine, if you've been tasting long enough and your palate has developed long enough. this fragrance has those same mineral aspects of frankincense. So we're gonna go ahead and give it a sniff. I haven't smelled these in a really long time too, by the way, except for one of them. Yeah, so this is beautiful. It almost opens up smelling like suntan lotion. It has that very like salty, beachy, kind of floral, solar aspect that's kind of sitting on top of that very slatey, earthy frankincense scent. It's almost got this like sandy quality to it. The frankincense in here, you guys, you can tell the frankincense in each of these fragrances is like such high quality frankincense. It's really, really good. Out of all four, this is the one that I took the least notes on. I think because I was so busy just smelling it, because it smells really good. If you liked Soleil Blanc, you will like this. I'm trying to think of, there's something else that it reminds me of that's kind of like a beachy fragrance. It's not meant to necessarily smell beachy. It's not like, this isn't gonna pop up on like suntan themed videos or coconut themed videos or anything like that, but it's just the vibe that it gives off. It is absolutely beautiful. On skin, this wore so beautifully. All four of these fragrances are absolute beasts. They are going to last and last and last and last. They are going to project. You're going to definitely be, your presence is going to be known when you walk into a room. So just be aware of that. I think all Amouage fragrances are like that. This would be a beautiful like brunch fragrance. I see someone wearing this in the spring or the summer where you want to be like slightly dressed up and elevated, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's like a date night fragrance. Again, it's hard to kind of pinpoint what situations you would wear Amouage fragrances in, but for me personally, this is something that I will most likely put on in the spring or summer, potentially the fall. Maybe if I'm going out to lunch, I'm thinking of like, you know, I live in Austin, so the ocean's 3.5 hours away, but when I go visit my family and we go up to Maine, my family lives just north of Boston, we go up to Maine and we'll like sit and have brunch at a restaurant in a Gunkwit, like on the water. I could totally see this being perfect for that. Having lunch on the water, on the ocean, going maybe like stepping into some art galleries and some gift shops, like on the way back to the hotel, like that kind of vibe. Yeah, very solar, very sand-like, very, it's got almost like this Mediterranean feel to it. It's absolutely gorgeous. I 10 out of 10 recommend this fragrance. Okay, the next one is my personal favorite from the line. I will rank these at the end of our video today, because why not? This is my personal favorite, and it's one that I haven't heard anyone talk about. I know a lot of people are loving Lineage. It's probably like the second favorite, I'm thinking, from the line, from what I've heard other opinions. From what I've heard of other opinions. Search is my personal favorite. Let me tell you why. You guys are gonna laugh because I say this often. If a fragrance reminds me of the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, I'm sold. It's my favorite place. I feel like maybe in a past life I was like a Mayan warrior. I'm not sure, but when I'm in the Yucatan, I'm home. I'm 100% home. It's crazy. Like my soul, the first time I ever went to Tulum, the craziest thing happened. We were driving down. I had no idea what it was going to look like. I had no expectation. And, you know, we flew into Cancun. We got a private van to take us down to Tulum. Once we hit the like beach road and we started driving in, our resort is no longer there. It got taken over by the Mexican cartel from what I've heard, but it was our favorite place to stay when we used to go there. It was called Rosa del Viento. It was like at the very end of the beach road, headed south, I guess, away from the ruins. Anyways, our first time driving in there, I had this very weird sense. It tripped me out. I had this very weird sense of like, I've been here before. It was very familiar. It was a really challenging moment in my life, to be honest, and not to sound dramatic, but I had never experienced anything like that before. It was a total trip. I was like, I've been here before. I've known all this. I've walked on the street. Like, it was kind of nuts, actually. And Ian and I had a long conversation about it once we like checked into the hotel and we like went down and got dinner and we were talking about it. And he was like, maybe you like lived here in a past life, you know, like who knows? I don't know if that's, yeah, anyways, getting off topic, but I have a thing for Tulum in particular. And this fragrance, I don't know why it reminds me of Tulum. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to just spray it and then I'm going to talk you through the notes that I took while the perfumer was talking about it. This is a very citrusy dominant, very citrus dominant fragrance. And, oh man, this is a work of art, you guys. It's not just citrus, it's charred lemons. Like, you know, when you go to a nice restaurant and they char a lemon, and they do this a lot in Mexico, they char a lemon and then they just put it next to your food. And it has this very specific smell. It's so good. So what they've done here is they've created this sort of charred lemon scent. And I can't remember, again, I'll put the notes up. Can't remember what he said as far as like if there was actually lemon in this, but I know that they added some lime and some mandarin for this kind of like zesty, like it literally smells like the inside of a citrus peel. And then there's also some Omani incense in here as well to really give it this like smoky kind of woodsy, earthy smell. You guys, this, like, I don't understand why no one is talking about this. It's not that wearable. I've tried to wear it in certain situations and I'm like, when? Like, I don't know how to wear this. I'm thinking maybe like dinner in Tulum would be an appropriate time and place to wear this. Some people are going to think this smells like Lemon Pledge. Some people are going to say that. I know that they're going to say that. You really have to spend time with this fragrance and you really have to like, just experience it fully. You guys, I can't. Sometimes when I fall in love with a fragrance, like I get speechless and I'm like, I don't know how to. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's this juxtaposition between this gorgeous citrus zest and this gorgeous, smoky, earthy, esoteric Omani incense. This isn't just like a church incense. This is like, you feel like you're being transported back thousands and thousands of years into some sort of like sacred ritual. Hands down, favorite from the entire, favorite from the four for sure. Okay, next up we have Guidance, which if you watch fragrance reviews, I'm sure you've heard of a review of this so far. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I have a feeling this is going to become the next Delina. It's just getting a lot of hype. The perfumer behind this fragrance is Quentin Biche, who actually also did Delina. So it's interesting, like in some ways it has a similar vibe, sort of, kind of, but it has a similar impact because it's the contradiction between something so feminine yet so strong, which is exactly what I feel like Delina sort of translates as well. I've mentioned that before. I feel like Delina is like the boss babe who's like super girly, but she's so freaking strong. Like no one can mess with her. Guidance gives that same feeling. The kind of visual that was given with this fragrance as we were testing it was this visual of this woman dominating a lion. So this like beautiful, soft, feminine woman who's totally rooted in her feminine energy, but she's in control and she's controlling this potentially out of control, primal sort of masculine force. So let's go ahead and give this a sniff. Yeah, so up top, this has something that it's a little nose tickling up top. That element of it does go away. But right up top, you've got a very exquisite pear note and also this like subtle kind of hazelnut accord that's kind of dancing with the pear. The pear is definitely taking over, but the hazelnut is kind of keeping the pear from getting too sweet. You've also got a little bit of rhubarb at the top, which might be the thing that's kind of giving it that nose burning feeling. But the rhubarb, yeah, I mean, the rhubarb is actually pretty dominant up top, but it's very nicely balanced. Like, you know how the rhubarb in Delina is like, bam, like it's charting it out like so hard. With this, it's like the pear, the rhubarb, and the hazelnut are all kind of working together so that neither one is really like dominating the fragrance or taking it into like a really hard to comprehend kind of way, if that makes any sense. In the middle, we've got some beautiful rose, like such a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous rose, and some frankincense in the middle as well. And then in the base, we've got a lot of sandalwood as it dries down. The reason why this fragrance is so hyped is because it is an absolute masterpiece in its complexity, in the way it's been crafted, in the way that the notes kind of dance and tango with each other, but also just create this like overall beautiful blend that it really does tell the story of a woman who is so rooted in her feminine yet so strong. Like, that is the essence of this fragrance. Quentin Biche knocked it out of the park again with this. I understand the hype. It's hard. I feel like, you know, Search has been my number one. This is really, really good. Yeah, this is a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. I would wear this spring, summer, maybe fall. I would wear this out to dinner. I would wear this anytime that you want to feel really girly but really confident. I think this would be a great first date fragrance. It's definitely not edgy or wild in any way. It's very feminine. It's very classic. It's very, yeah, it's very gentle while also being like extremely unique, and it's not like anything you've smelled before. The projection and sillage is huge on this, but it's not beastly necessarily. Like, people are definitely going to smell you, but it's like a gentle, very soft, kind of nurturing scent. So yeah, I mean, this is delicious. If you like rhubarb fragrances, if you like pear fragrances, if you like hazelnut, if you like rose, if you like frankincense, like, you definitely got to get your nose on it. So people aren't lying when they're hyping it up. It's really good. Okay, and so the fourth and final fragrance in this kit is Purpose. And Purpose is the end of the escape, as they described it. It's finding your inner voice and your purpose. So just to review, we've got this whole theme of escape, right? The first one was lineage. You're escaping your lineage. The second one was search. You start searching, like, what is my identity? What is my truth? The third one is guidance. Something, probably a strong feminine presence, is going to come in and sort of guide you or help you to create your own inner guidance, where you have that soft feminine flow energy, also paired with that very strong kind of willful force, right? The fourth one is purpose. So you're finding your inner voice and your purpose at the end of the escape. And there was, on the visuals that he showed us, I can't remember if this is like on the box that you get your bottle in, but there was a turtle somewhere as a visual. And the perfumer was talking about how he went to this island, I believe it was off the coast of Africa, maybe. I could be wrong. It might be somewhere in Southeast Asia. He went to this island, and there was a turtle sanctuary on the island, and there was a man guarding this sanctuary. And if I remember correctly, he just was like really taken aback by the wisdom of this man, and how this man's whole entire life purpose had become to guard this turtle sanctuary. Like, that was his purpose. And he was very, very, very wise, and just someone that really impacted the perfumer, like, on a very deep and visceral level. So we'll give it a sniff. This one, in my opinion, is going to be the most masculine of the four, in my opinion. Guidance being the most feminine for sure. Search. I feel like guidance is the most feminine, and then lineage, and then search, and then purpose, personally. Now this is absolutely gorgeous. You guys are going to laugh. I'm having a love affair with grapefruit. This has a top note of grapefruit in it, but the grapefruit's not really dominant. What's really dominant at the top is this pepper note with this incense, but the grapefruit kind of like bitters out the incense a little bit, so keeps it from being like super smoky at the top, and it almost smells almost like almost saffron-y, almost. In the middle we have woody notes, vetiver and papyrus, which you can definitely get a lot of that vetiver. And in the base, we've got this kind of mineralic sand vetiver frankincense thing. This is really, really, really pretty. It smells, again, like this very sacred kind of ancient smell. This, for me personally, would be the hardest to wear, because it to me, it comes off very masculine. I have a difficult time wearing like vetiver heavy fragrances personally. But yeah, this to me is the most classy. I would see like a really wealthy businessman wearing this, like traveling through the Middle East. Yeah, to me this smells very wealthy. It smells very classic, very wealthy, but also very grounded, very wise. It has a very refined, quiet kind of approach to it. So yeah, again, exquisite fragrance. Every single one of these fragrances has been expertly done. Expertly. Ratings. I personally, it's difficult because I love them all. Personally, for me, I would put Search at number 1 because of the scent memory that it evokes. If I didn't have that scent memory, I would probably put Guidance at number 1. And then Lineage is my close, so let's just say my personal favorite is Search because of the scent memory. Guidance would come in second, Lineage would come in third, and then Purpose would come in fourth, only because Purpose for me is the least wearable for me personally. But literally every single fragrance I think is a masterpiece. I don't think there's one that's better done than the other. I think they're all incredible. So this has been a pleasure to review for you guys. I wanted to review this so long ago. I'm not sure if they're selling these on the Amouage website, but if they are, I would highly recommend grabbing yourself one of these. I don't think any Amouage fragrances are safe blind buys, and they're definitely like really expensive and sometimes can be kind of hard to get your hands on samples, sort of, depending on where you live. But yeah, I would definitely recommend purchasing this kit and exploring it, and yeah, seeing if anything really suits your fancy and if you fall in love with anything. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already subscribed and you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment down below. I really want to hear which one you guys, if you've smelled all 4, which one are you like absolutely in love with? What are your personal favorites? What's your feedback? Are you loving the frankincense notes in here? Let me know all of your thoughts down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.